Since the pandemic, there seems to have been an uptick in enlightenment. I use quotes because I doubt that anyone sincerely devoted to inner work would ever declare themselves an enlightenment seeker. At the same time, self respecting holds its own irony, an ego attachment to the journey, I suppose. What is being sought with the hope of being found? Whatever it is, I know I haven't found it. I haven't even looked. If anything, I've done the opposite. In my reluctance to grow, to release bad habits and limiting beliefs, I've actively avoided any so called illumination that might bring undue depression and duress. Growing up sucks. It isn't fun, and it certainly isn't glamorous, unless you're one of those rare people who can. Pretty cry. I am not one of them. There are still bills left unpaid, books left unread, a yoga mat curled in the corner, and an omnipresent God to whom I offer daily apologies for my many transgressions. Fear keeps me stagnant, fear of poverty, success, dying of dementia in my bathtub after choking on oatmeal, failure, never knowing the love of another man, and suffering a paper cut in the eye. Fear has a way of distracting you from the immediate and pressing responsibilities that might actually prevent those very fears from materializing. Honestly, I don't understand how other middle aged people have managed to reach adult status in its fullest form, let alone reach a stage of refinement. I have friends who willingly endure environmental discomfort for the sake of biohacking their most fundamental instincts, those very instincts designed to warn them of danger. The depression we experienced in our younger years was perhaps an early warning. Never grow up. I believe this wave of enlightenment, ushered in by the bored and unemployed during the pandemic, has dulled our senses. It is the new opiate of the masses, or at least the version of enlightenment I have come to recognize. A race toward an ever more commodified, ever more attainable goal. It is an enlightenment born of privilege, not of struggle. It is watching campers load up their expensive gear and drive out from the parking garage of a luxury high rise in an electric vehicle, passing throngs of unhoused people who live outdoors involuntarily. It does not feel performative exactly, more like performative purview. Everyone is having a go at it, and while I can endure a few agonizing minutes in a cold plunge a la Wim Hof, I much prefer my bath to function as a bain marie for the coffee I drink in it each morning. By what measure are we charting this finish line? What will eventually undo us? The more we attempt to frame enlightenment within a three-dimensional construct, the further we stray from its essence, its multidimensionality, its inherent unknowability, its subjectivity, and most importantly, its relativity. These last two qualities form a delicate interplay between what is yours and what is mine, and in holding them both with detachment, we form an ours. Call it yin yang, quantum entanglement, non duality, the great infinite orgasm, whatever term you prefer for the eternal resonance of all things. I have heard wisdom from the mouths of both babes and monsters, knowing full well that the misguidance of the former may lead to their becoming the latter. But a monster, given the right context, is often easily understood. And with the right context, they can be lovingly persuaded, subdued, renewed, and made whole again. Perhaps this is more of a confession, a recognition of my failure to cultivate enough curiosity to seek, knowing I would never truly find it. I either possess the capacity for expansion or I do not. It's that simple. I would like to think that I do. I wouldn't bet on it. Never would I attach my spiritual worth to a three-dimensional value system, sarcastically or otherwise. But I would like to believe that where I begin and where I end are not the same, despite my mother's inclination toward codependency. Her embrace has not been a warm or nurturing place for some time. If enlightenment is something one can possess in increments, then perhaps I have a pinch of it. There are traces of a whole higher self in my carefully curated home environment. She simply hasn't fully arrived yet, but I am preparing a place for her. I refuse to feel shame for my failure to receive her completely, and anyone who dares judge me for that shortcoming surely forfeits some of their own enlightenment to me. Or is that not how this works?